Martin Luther King Jr. is celebrated worldwide as a leader of the American civil rights movement, a Nobel laureate, and a symbol of peaceful resistance.
However, his life was not without controversy. Beyond his inspiring speeches and nonviolent philosophy, King's personal and political life was riddled with scandal, FBI surveillance, and controversial decisions.
Here are 10 of the most shocking and scandalous facts about Martin Luther King Jr. Number 1. A troubled youth and complicated personal life.
Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, as Michael King Jr. His father, Michael King Sr., a respected Baptist pastor, changed both his name and his son's to Martin Luther King after a 1934 trip to Germany in honor of the Protestant reformer Martin Luther. King was an exceptionally bright but rebellious child. He skipped 9th and 12th grades, enrolling at Morehouse College at just 15 years old in 1944. Initially, he was skeptical of Christianity, questioning its relevance, but under the mentorship of Morehouse's president, Benjamin Mays, he became committed to faith-based activism.
On June 18, 1953, King married Coretta Scott, a talented singer and activist.
They had 4 children: Yolanda, Martin Luther King III, Dexter Scott, and Bernice. Despite maintaining the image of a devoted husband and father, King was reported to have engaged in multiple extramarital affairs. The FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, began surveillance on King through its COINTELPRO program, wiretapping his hotel rooms and gathering information about his private life. A 1964 FBI memo stated, "King is no saint, his sexual exploits are numerous and range from the normal to the abnormal." That same year, the FBI sent an anonymous letter to King, urging him to take drastic action against himself before receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, attaching alleged recordings of his affairs. King reportedly told his associates, "They are trying to get me to end my own life."
Number 2.
Plagiarism in his doctoral thesis and the "I Have a Dream" speech. In 1955, King earned his PhD in theology from Boston University, submitting a dissertation titled, "A Comparison of the Conceptions of God in the Thinking of Paul Tillich and Henry Nelson Weeman." However, in 1991, a university investigation revealed that over 1/3 of King's dissertation contained passages plagiarized from previous scholars without proper attribution.
Despite the findings, Boston University chose not to revoke his PhD, stating that his societal contributions outweighed his academic misconduct.
The university declared, although the dissertation contains significant plagiarism, Dr. King's contributions to scholarship and society remain beyond question. This revelation fueled further scrutiny of King's intellectual legacy, and some scholars began investigating other parts of his work. One of the most controversial claims is that his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, delivered during the 1963 March on Washington, was at least partially inspired, if not copied, from earlier sources. Critics point to a speech by Archibald Carey Jr., an African-American pastor and politician, who in 1952 gave an address ending with the repeated phrase "Let freedom ring," bearing a striking resemblance to King's famous refrain. While King undoubtedly refined and popularized the speech with his own cadence and message, this controversy added to the debate over how much of his work was truly original.
What do you think? Was King simply influenced by previous speeches, or did he cross the line into plagiarism? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Number 3. The FBI's obsession, Hoover's vendetta against King. Few historical figures faced as intense an FBI campaign as King. Director J. Edgar Hoover considered him a communist sympathizer and a threat to U.S. security. In 1963, Hoover convinced Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy to approve wiretaps on King's phone calls, which extended to hotel room surveillance. The most infamous incident occurred in 1964 when the FBI sent an anonymous letter to King, along with a package containing alleged recordings of his extramarital affairs. The letter read, "King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is." King understood this as a call for self-destruction and told his close associates, "They are out to destroy me." To this day, much of the FBI's King surveillance files remain classified, scheduled for full release in 2027. Many believe they contain even more damaging revelations about his personal life and political connections. Number 4. Alleged ties to communists.
During the Red Scare, even an association with suspected communists could destroy a career. King's longtime advisor, Stanley Levison, was a Jewish attorney and a former Communist Party USA member, leading the FBI to believe King was being influenced by Marxist ideology. In 1963, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy authorized secret wiretaps on King's communications, convinced that Levison was channeling communist propaganda through him. King strongly denied these claims, stating in 1965, "There are as many communists in this freedom movement as there are Eskimos in Florida." Despite these denials, some historians argue that King's increasingly socialist economic views in the final years of his life showed a shift toward leftist ideology.
Number 5. Controversial stance against the Vietnam War.
On April 4, 1967, exactly 1 year before his assassination, King delivered his powerful speech Beyond Vietnam at Riverside Church in New York. In it, he declared, "The United States is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today." This speech alienated many civil rights leaders, including NAACP Chairman Roy Wilkins, who feared it would damage the movement's support among white Americans. Even President Lyndon B. Johnson, who had been an ally in the civil rights struggle, saw this as a betrayal. King's shift from civil rights activism to broader anti-war and economic justice movements made him an even bigger target for government surveillance.
Number 6.
The 1968 Memphis scandal, sex, strikes, and assassination. In March 1968, King traveled to Memphis, Tennessee, to support a strike by black sanitation workers. The protest on March 28 turned violent, and a 16-year-old boy, Larry Payne, was shot and killed by police. Critics accused King of losing control of his movement, damaging his nonviolent image. FBI surveillance later claimed that on the night of April 3, 1968, at the Lorraine Motel, King engaged in sexual encounters with multiple women.
The FBI intended to use these tapes to discredit him posthumously.
On April 4, 1968, King was assassinated by James Earl Ray, but many, including King's family, believe the U.S. government orchestrated his murder.
Number 7. Allegations of complicity in a sexual assault.
In 2019, newly released FBI documents contain shocking allegations that in 1964, Martin Luther King Jr. witnessed and encouraged a sexual assault by his associate, Baptist minister Logan Kurz. The report claimed that King laughed and even offered advice during the assault in a Washington, D.C., hotel room. Historians and civil rights scholars were deeply divided on the credibility of these claims. Many pointed out that the FBI, under Hoover, had a clear motive to destroy King's reputation and that previous attempts to smear him had involved fabricating evidence. Pulitzer Prize-winning historian David Garrow, who had previously written a biography of King, stated that while the allegations were explosive, they required further scrutiny, especially given the FBI's history of misinformation. The release of these documents reignited debates about King's personal life and how much weight should be given to evidence that originated from a hostile and corrupt FBI.
Number 8. Was King's murder a government conspiracy? James Earl Ray was arrested for King's assassination and pleaded guilty in 1969 to avoid the death penalty. However, he recanted his confession just days later, claiming he had been set up by a man named Raoul. Ray alleged that Raoul, who he met in Montreal, was part of a larger conspiracy involving government agents. Coretta Scott King and the King family openly supported Ray's request for a new trial, believing that he was merely a pawn in a broader plot. They pointed to discrepancies in the ballistic evidence and inconsistencies in the witness testimonies.
In 1999, the King family won a civil lawsuit against Lloyd Jowers, a Memphis businessman who claimed he was part of a conspiracy to kill King.
The jury found that there was indeed a conspiracy involving governmental agencies. However, mainstream media largely ignored the trial's findings, and the official narrative that Ray acted alone remains the dominant view in history books. Number 9. What's still hidden in the FBI files? The FBI's full surveillance records on King remain sealed until 2027, fueling speculation about what more they might reveal. Many believe these files could contain further insights into his personal life, political affiliations, and possibly even evidence of government involvement in his assassination. The anticipation surrounding these documents is immense,
with historians and journalists eager to see if they confirm or debunk the many rumors that have circulated for decades.
The potential for new revelations has raised concerns that King's legacy could face new scrutiny and controversy. Number 10. A complex legacy, hero, hypocrite, or both? Despite the scandals, Martin Luther King Jr. remains a towering figure in American history. His legacy as a leader of the civil rights movement and an advocate for nonviolent resistance continues to inspire. However, the complexities of his life, including his personal indiscretions, alleged plagiarism, and controversial political views, present a more nuanced picture. King's story is a reminder that historical figures are rarely without flaws. His legacy is both a testament to the power of nonviolence and civil disobedience and a case study in how public heroes can also lead complicated and imperfect personal lives. As his FBI files are set to be released, the world may soon gain an even deeper understanding of the man behind the legend.